Alright, I'm just gonna do Mirage Util. This is all 128 tick, and I do have a jump bind, so anytime I say jump throw, I will be using my jump throw bind. If you're playing with 64 tick and you're not using jump throw bind, most of this util that relies on that will not work. Some of it will, but for the most part, this is for like ESA/Faceit matches and predominantly league play. I'm going to start off with T-side util. I'm going to try to go like around the map for different stuff. So like I'm going to start with A util, then mid, then B, and move on. The first thing I'm going to throw, there's really two things in Palace. First one is just the flash out Palace that bounces. This can just be used when your teammates are going out towards A. And you just want to throw it. The goal of this flash isn't really to blind anybody, it's just to make them look away for a little bit and maybe reposition. The only other thing in Palace that I really have to show, and this works with both a molly and a flash, the flash is actually really useful, I'll show that in a second, is the lineup to molly under balk from Palace, even if you're smoked off. So we want to do, I'll do this once without being smoked off and then once with being smoked off to show that it works both ways. So you get in this corner right here, you still get stuck in this corner. You aim where the... I'll bind off so I make it more obvious for everything. You aim where the dark and the light kind of connect though, on the trim. You pull your grenade. I'm holding A and S at the same time, so basically you want to move back all the way into the wall, and you want to go as far as you can until you're completely over, and then you throw your molly. And then this throws a molly for all under balk. This includes the box up there, and it doesn't molly from like this angle, but that's you don't really care about that anyway. And then from the same spot, you also can throw a flash, which will bounce in slightly different ways, but this can be helpful if there is, especially if it bounces towards over here, it can just blind stuff. It's usually good etiquette just for a Palace player to make sure to use that flash if he can, because there's no real reason not to. So to show that it does with a smoke, all the way back, stuck in the corner, molly, flash. And then the flash will pop out in basically the same place as the molly. It can blind people that are holding from CT, it can blind people that are like towards triple, it can blind people that are default, whatever. So yeah, there it is, there's the proof that it works both ways. From A to the A smokes, first one I'll show is the top con smoke from outside A ramp. So you get in this corner next to like the jump up spot for A ramp. You aim at this antenna. It's not really a T, but it's where the antenna connects for all on the three prongs. You just aim at the middle. You jump throw. This bounces for top con. It's really useful if you want to do like fast mid splits and stuff like that. Can also be really helpful on like an A take if you smoke jungle and top con instead of stairs. Stair smoke, this one everybody knows. You get on this little ledge in the middle of this. You aim in between this wall and this pillar, about halfway up from. It's really the best way I can describe it, honestly. Just left click throw. This will work in 64 tick as well, and then it'll bounce top stairs. And smoke stairs. That one's really easy, really normal. There is a different stair smoke that is kind of special and goes deeper. I'm not going to show that. I don't think it's the most useful. If you want to learn it, there's YouTube videos out there. But that'll be for another video. The CT smoke. The one that I like to throw is from this railing back here. Especially since as the CT player, as a CT smoker, most of the time you're throwing the support flashes, so I find it's helpful to be back here because it kind of delays, so it allows you to throw your flashes like at the correct timing. So I get myself lined up with this railing, so you have to get on this ledge, and you get lined up with the like fence up here, lined up in the middle, and then at this little corner right here, I like to aim a little bit over, so maybe like a couple pixels over on your screen. For my crosshair, personally, I just use the guide of like the left side of my like left prong of my crosshair, the right side of it touching the wall. That's generally speaking where I throw it. You can aim a little bit higher, a little bit lower, but this will bounce CT. And generally speaking, I think this has the best overall coverage. Now obviously, no CT smokes can be perfect. there's a little gap right there. That's something you just have to be aware of. There's always a little bit of gap around the edge of a CT smoke for the most part, especially since smokes are client side, so they can differ varying on who is rendering it. So you just gotta watch out for that. Jungle. I know there's a jungle smoke from like here or here maybe, that people throw. I don't throw that one. The one that I throw is I get lined up with this little T right here. So the last one over here, you go to the little T and the cracks on the ground. I find this little like dark splotch on this thing, and I aim up until the top 3/4 of my crosshair are above the wall, and I throw. Now that might be kind of specific. There's other jungle smokes that you know if you want to learn one of those. I just find that this one, generally speaking, gives the best total coverage. There will, like with the CT smoke, there will be gaps around the edge of the jungle smoke, so this has to be mitigated with mollies and flashes, but for the most part, it's relatively effective. Another CT smoke you can throw that I personally don't like as much, but is possible, is this one. I just want to make sure that that's the... Okay, that's not the correct one. You line up with this splotch on the wall. And I really thought that was it. Maybe it's just a little bit further to the right. It's kind of a weird smoke if you do want to throw that. This also works. I think it takes longer and it leaves more of a gap, but that's another way to throw the CT smoke if you don't want to do it from up there. Lamp flash. So you line up with... You can kind of line up wherever on the grape. I usually line up to the left of it, aim at the top of the lamp. You just left click throw it. You can throw one or two of these. Usually when I'm setting up my util, if I'm smoking CT, I'm throwing one lamp flash out for my team while they're entering, and then I'm throwing one above palace. Okay, I'm a little bit higher for that. Aiming way too low. So you throw the lamp flash first. Lamp flash pops. I'll throw a nade so we can actually see. So the nade pops right there. Nade is the same timing as the flash, so the flash will pop right here. This will blind anybody that's holding ramp at all. It's really, really difficult to dodge. It's very hard to see. It blinds everybody, including if the guy's holding this angle wide. It does not blind the guy that's holding this angle. Basically nothing can. So that's kind of up to your team to be able to kill this guy. It's on a headshot angle though, so it's usually a pretty good fight for your team. And then I really like the second flash above palace. Now this will not blind them for nearly as long, as it's very far away, but it will be able to at least partially blind oppers and anybody sitting triple. It's basically impossible to dodge unless they're shoved. They have their face shoved in anything. If anyone's holding above palace, like this angle or this angle, they will be blind by it. It's very difficult to turn from. It's very high in the air. It'll blind stairs people. It'll blind jungle people. Now, like I said, it's only a partial blind, so it's not like the most useful flash, but it is good enough, I generally think, to help your teammates entry out palace. What else? Let's see. A flash that I sometimes like for myself, if making an aggro peek out A, is just the bounce off the wall flash there. Now, it's pretty easy to turn from, and obviously it doesn't always get people, but it can be useful to go out if you dodge it, like I just didn't for some reason. But that's a flash that you can throw if you want. Let's see. From A, an important thing, well obviously the first thing I'm going to show is just the underbalk molly. You just throw it in the middle of the A. No, I'm wrong. You throw it at the left side of the A. And it bounces in your back. That was pretty normal. So you're just running out, you just throw it there. And, well, it's not the most specific thing in the world, you just kind of do when you're running out. But it's important to throw this if you haven't already. Unless if your house player hasn't. Unless you guys aren't. You're deciding to just hard clear underbalk and you don't really want to waste a molly on that, which is fine as well. Another important thing for A executes is mollying the bench run through. If you are one of the last people out, or even like the third person out, I generally think should be throwing this molly right here. Now, a usual jungle smoke will land somewhere around there. Now, what a lot of good players, especially oppers, will do is run out behind the smoke, usually with a flash, and then will clear like apex and maybe even peek towards ramp. Now, this can be very dangerous because it's very hard to see the one on the edge of the smoke. So the way to mitigate against that is to throw the bench molly. So molly all of the run through, it'll make it impossible for anyone to be here. Some people like to get on this bench. It's pretty important, I would say. You can also kind of similarly molly triple on the run out if that's what you guys decide to do. These are all kind of feel throws for the most part. They don't really require anything special. The smokes from Tetris, there are 3 useful smokes from Tetris in my opinion. I believe you can also smoke top con from Tetris, but I do not remember how to do it currently. So I'm just going to throw the jungle smoke, the CT smoke, and the stair smoke. The jungle smoke you get up next to this box right here on the floor. You crouch, you aim to the right side where this like dark part is touches the blue sky in between these two. So from here and here you aim in between, so right about there. You just left click throw. And it lands into jungle. This is pretty useful, especially if you're taking con. Now, if I remember how to throw the top con smoke from there, it would be even better, but I do not currently, so I'm not even gonna really try that. I think it has something to do with there. The stair smoke you get on the second ledge right here. So you jump one up, you want to be right here. You aim right. It's not the most specific thing in the world, but you want to try to aim for the tip of like the trim on the wall, and you jump there. And if you do it right, it'll pop on stairs. It'll be a little different each time, but for the most part, it should always land in somewhere that can cover stairs, which is the most important part. Just throw it again one more time, just to show. Yep. Cover stairs. So that's what you really care about. And then for the CT smoke now. For the CT smoke, you want to get back in the same spot you threw the jungle smoke from. Now you can kind of aim at any of these. I'm not even really sure what to call these. Windows, I guess, on the wall. Very high up. I prefer to go to the third one from the left, so 1, 2, 3. I like aiming at that one. You just left click throw. It bounces and lands CT for a pretty good smoke. There's usually a little bit of a gap towards the top left of ticket, but for the most part, this smoke covers everything. It's pretty fast. It's very useful, especially if you need like a resmoke CT. If you're like one of the last players out and you haven't really used your Util and you're back at Tetris, this is really important to know because this can bail your teammates out of a lot of situations. Sorry about that. A little tired. Another good thing to throw when you're executing is the jungle molly. Especially if you can get the one that clears, if you throw it right and it clears in the cubby and it leaves like all of jungle out. This can be very useful, especially if you have a teammate getting popped through the stair smoke. So what a lot of teams will do, like when you're going full execs and there's a lot of flashes and stuff like that, is they'll get the first guy out to jump into the stair smoke and be ready to get popped through with just like a flash like this. And with jungle molly, then he can jump through, he can kill stairs, and he can kind of take a little bit of con presence, a little bit of con control, especially if he still has like a smoke or something like that. Then you can smoke off con and hold jungle. Very, pretty useful for the most part to do. Another thing, you can always throw the pop flashes from here. Those are pretty cool. I believe you can also like kind of molly. You can molly stairs that way. Just sometimes you might molly yourself out, but stuff like that is pretty useful for the most part. I think that's kind of it for the A take on T side. I'm gonna go throw some mid nades. The first one to know is the one that everyone probably knows already, but I'm still gonna show it. The top mid smoke. This works 128 and 64 tick. You get on top of the trash can here. In this corner, you aim at the top right of this antenna. You left click throw. And it just lands right here on catwalk. It smokes off the mid peak. It kind of smokes a little bit of the con peak. Now they can obviously peek underneath and shoot this angle, so you gotta make sure to flash it off. And it kind of lets you work around the edge of it. See if you can maybe catch the opera off guard, something like that. Now in my opinion, the most important smoke on this map, at least for like lower level play. High level play, obviously this gets countered a lot, but for low level play this works really well, is the window smoke from spawn. How to do it, you get next to the trash can, like so. You aim, if you kind of think of these two sides of the door above the like railing here as rectangles separated by that line, aim at the middle of the right rectangle, so right about here. You have to hold D and hit your jump throw at the same time. So you have to prime the nade, hold D, hit your jump throw. It's very important that you hold D because it gives you like a little bit of extra elevation that lets you throw it properly. And if you did it right, it lands window like this. To smoke catwalk off, I know a bunch of people have a lot of different ways to do this. The one that I prefer is you get in this little cubby next to the stairs, back in the spawn. You aim at the top right little like dot on your carpet right here, and you jump throw. And so let's go. The thing to know about this smoke is people can kind of phase through the side of it a little bit and try to take like a peek, so you gotta be aware of that, but any good team should be able to look at that, and that's kind of a risky play for a lot of people, so who knows if they even really go for it. Smoke top con from spawn. Say you're doing like a 3 mids, like a window top con cat smoke or something like that, or just window top con and go cat, or just like a take con. You can do whatever you want with it really. You get in this little cubby above the stairs, so right here, on the left side of the stairs. Aim at the top of this wooden roof stuff. I don't even really know what to call this. So right at that the one that protrudes out the most on the top right, and you crouch walk forward with it primed until you hit the bottom of the dark part, so right about here, and you jump through. And this will smoke top con. Like so. Is there any other smokes from spawn that I want to show? Not for mid. Important stuff to do while taking mid is should always be able to throw flashes over mid like this. For the first peek, this person should never be peeking mid without one of those kind of flashes. This will blind the mid opper unless he's on this angle. This angle is basically impossible to blind, so for the most part you should be doing this when you have top mid smoked or window smoked to make that not a possibility, but always keep that in mind. That's a really good angle that they can play. Other good mid flashes are just behind mid. It's pretty hard to dodge when you're about to be fought. And I think personally my favorite flash for mid that everybody should throw, the first person out mid, if they're not mollying con, should be throwing this flash off the wall, because this blinds flashes for the person peeking bottom con from either this angle, gotta go up, or this angle. It also can technically blind the window player if he's still on that angle and it bounces far enough. Outside of that, the top con molly, you get in the corner of mid like this, and usually you pretty much have to have that flash thrown for you, or there'd be a top mid smoke, but you get in this corner, you aim at the little like triangle tip up here, I'm not really sure of the dark part, and you molly. Molly's in con, he gets all of the important spots. Sometimes it doesn't hit up here, but most of the time it does. If that's a really big issue, you can aim all the way up towards the roof, and that will get in this cubby itself. A lot of people really prefer this one. This one probably is a little bit better, so actually I would say for the most part you should throw this one, as it burns more of con. Sometimes it still lands a little low, but overall both of them work pretty well. When you're top mid, another important one to know. To molly window without being exposed to window, as long as you can see the antenna up here, the little tip of the antenna right there, the darker one, not the really thin ones, and this red roof, you want to line up the antenna with this window, basically. It's kind of a feel thing, but this is what I usually look for right around here. And you want to run through, and before you hit the wall, release, and it will bounce and land in window every time. so that's pretty cool. Also from top, once you cross top mid boxes, either with flashes, top mid smoke, whatever it might be, you want to smoke window from here. As long as you're anywhere towards the middle, you line up the antenna with the top of this roof. You run forward, left click throw. It'll smoke window perfectly every time. It's really easy to throw. Same thing with a molly. I'll show you that it hits even if it gets put out. Same idea. Not really any different. You can also flash con basically the same way you throw the. I'm just gonna keep using it so we don't have to turn away. Basically the same way you throw the molly, you can flash con that way. And then my personal favorite flash for con is if you have a teammate. Now, you gotta keep in mind that the people you're flashing in, they have to be looking either away or into the wall for this to work, as it will full blind them if they are looking at con. But for most teams, this is pretty common, so you just gotta calm this properly. You get top mid on the left side of the cart, on the barrel side. You aim at this part of the barrel, a little to the, basically in between where like the X of the knot forms on the wooden part. Just left click throw. And it flashes con. You can aim a little bit more left on the X itself if you want it to pop like right inside con. Now that provides a little bit of a sound cue. I personally prefer to just throw it normally. Now this is for the top con peek. If you're top mid and you want to smoke off cat, you get the same spot you throw the flash from. You aim at the top left of this antenna and you just left click throw. And cat smoked. What else? If you're going chair and you want to molly off basically all the difficult to clear parts of cat, so here and basically this whole area, especially if you have the smoke, but you can do it without it as well. Just bounce it off bricks and it will burn all of this. Makes it impossible for anyone to stand here. That forces them off the bricks angle as well. That can be pretty helpful. Let's see, as an underpass player, I guess I can throw this. If you want to smoke top con, say you have like somebody posted on window or a molly or a smoke there or whatever, and you're looking to smoke top con so you can take con or cat control, you just bank your smoke off this pillar right here. Just like a run throw forward. It's another one of the more feely smokes. But if you just do it kind of like what I'm doing, you'll basically never miss. Smokes top con. Obviously they can still be in con, and it leaves a little bit of a gap for this guy to kind of play in, which is sometimes scary, but for the most part, this works really well. Now, as an underpass player, if you have worked up underpass, obviously, you know, you have this angle. It's pretty good to hold for the mid re-peek. If you want to smoke mid, smoke mid window from here. Hitting it off this wall, basically anywhere, will always be a good smoke for mid window. Doesn't really matter where exactly you aim, as long as it goes in window. It'll pretty much always be a good smoke for window. Same applies with the molly. If you throw it off that, it'll bounce and it'll hit all of window as well. If you want to smoke cat from underpass, you get to this little white dot on the tiles. You want to be crouched above it. Make sure you're on it. This little dot on the wall, and you just jump throw. It's kind of a deeper smoke, but there's no gaps around the edge. They can technically like walk through to over here, which, you know, can be scary if you don't have like a person holding it or whatever, but for the most part, this makes it pretty easy to come up con, especially if you have the other person on chair or whatever. Let me see, is there anything else towards mid that I think is important? I don't think so. Okay, let's do B nades. The fast arches smokes for B are, the first one I'll show is you get to this wooden pillar right here. I usually try to get my model, my hand at the bottom right, to be kind of lined up with the edge of it. I aim at where it kind of, the trim kind of connects, jump throw. And then the other one, you get stuck in the corner of this one, this wooden beam. You look for the little white dot in the middle of like the stand on the wall here, so right here, and jump throw. And this smokes both sides of arch. I guess technically this means that this guy can sit here, but like you can't trade that out, then I don't know, you got bigger problems than I can solve. So just do it again, really quick. I'll just throw them both this really quick to make sure that people see. So there's both sides of arch smoke. Now this still does leave a little bit of a gap over this smoke for an opper, so flashes out are pretty important, but for the most part, this will keep you pretty safe when you're coming out. So that's for like a faster rush. Pretty much everybody at this point knows market window, but I'll still show it. You get into this corner. When you enter into B apps from TV room, you aim at the pointy part of the roof here, where it connects, where the two walls connect. You just jump throw. And it smokes window. Smoke market door. You get next to the flower pot here on this little edge of what the flower pot's on. Aim at the top, the little pointy top of the right side window and jump throw. And the smokes door. Let's see. I don't remember the other arch smoke from NB apps, but the one that I do remember is look at this arrow right here. You just want to get as much towards the middle of it as you can. It's not the most specific thing in the world, and then you have to aim kind of in the middle of this part of the stain and jump throw, and it has to bounce off that right there, and we'll smoke this side of the arch. Now obviously that's kind of useless without the other one. I will probably try to learn that as well, but I just don't have it for this video. Other than that, your obvious flashes out apps for when your team's taking it. These are very important. You make sure you're throwing those. There's the flash out B apps. So run forward. I usually try to make this wall like pretty much. It's more of another field thing, and you just kind of aim at the top, run forward, and throw it, and make sure it goes out the window and pops down. This is really good because it blinds jail. It also will blind anyone at get right. It kind of blinds people that are cat. It can even blind people that are like peeking out wide on the site like this. So those are always good ones to throw. Anything else? Obviously there's the van molly. That kind of bounced weird, but whatever. A molly that I really like is when you're entering, this is for bench, and if you do it right, it also gets jail, which is pretty cool. It's just kind of a run forward and throw. Now this burns all the bench and jail. So it forces the jail player to play further up, which makes him a little bit of an easier target. I think that's pretty much it for T side. So I'm just gonna swap over to CT side really quick. Well, I'm just gonna play like my CT. Okay, the upper B smoke for your teammate to take it. You get next to planter and spawn. You aim at the right side wooden beam. You aim like at the middle of the square part of it, and you jump throw. So right about here. This goes BFs. This allows your team to take up towards kitchen. When you're coming out towards B, and if you want to take something like BAPS controller, if you have a teammate that's like, here, or even if they hear them coming B and they're like chair or something like that, and they can look into the wall for a second, or if they're here and they want to take a peek with an op, or you're here and you want to make sure that before you peek any of these kind of angles, you get the flash to peek in. The good flash for upper B is you get in the corner on side window right here. You aim at this like bar thing that's on the tarp, try to get your crosshair like directly in the middle of it, and just left click throw. And that pop flashes B-ups. It's a really good one. As a B anchor, the smoke that I prefer for B-ups when you're holding it is you want to bank it off like the middle of this wall. I usually do like a small walkthrough forward. I like this one because it covers in the doorway exactly, so it doesn't leave any weird gaps that they can lurk out on you as for. So that's what I just generally prefer, that this is the smoke that you throw. So to do it again, either make sure that you're not visible, your head isn't visible when you're throwing it, because, you know, then you can fucking die. But, oh well. You gotta just, this is practice, figure out where they can see you and where they can't. For the most part, the closer you are, the less they can see you. The further back, the more they can see you. Normally, if you're jump spotting, you'll be able to see if they're close enough to do it anyway, and then just throw it off that. Perfect smoke. As a B player, when you're falling back, so if like you're facing a B rush, even if it's like a real execute from a team or it's a pistol rush from a pug or whatever, I see a lot of van players will throw this molly. Now I actually think this is wrong. As a van player, I would much prefer as you're falling back, because you should never stay van on a rush. That's generally a bad thing, outside of maybe a pug where you can get a bunch of kills. I prefer the fallback molly that lands on balcony, so when they're trying to exit, they don't really have a good place. Now, personally, I think the cat player that's rotating in should be the one to throw this molly, which will basically force them into, and if you do it right, it'll cover all of this and all of back there, which will basically force them out in the U. And this molly gives you more time to recover and make it to, generally speaking, jail. Now, if you don't have time to throw this molly, like if you jump and they're already close, personally, I think the best thing to do is to molly somewhere under a window or around under a window. Now, this means that most good players will have the first 2 or 3 jump out through the window to create space. Now, this molly makes their life very difficult, because now the cat player, if he's like get right or something like that, has an advantageous position, and if you fall into jail, you also have an advantageous position. The same kind of goes for like nades and stuff like that. I think for the most part, the van player should be the one nading close, and the cat player should be coming in with the nade and then holding the run out. I think that's basically it as a B anchor for the most part. There's a one-way smoke that you can throw from here. I think it's like this. It's supposed to look at you. Hold on. Yeah, it gets you on the like shelf there, and you can peek over it. So to do that, you get here, you like crouch, I think, and you aim at that black dot up there, and then you can come in and jump up on the thing and get a little cheeky angle. I don't know how useful that is, so sometimes that's been fun for me, I don't know. As a cat player, some pretty important things as a cat player. The way to molly chair as a cat player, which is like super important. I think this is the most important molly that a CT honestly on this map can learn, is when you're behind bricks, you want to line up the lamp, like the way the lamp is looking down, with this kind of vertical, like thick black line in the bricks. You want to look up towards where, obviously the tree sways, so you can't always use it, but you go just basically straight up until where the bottom of the tree would start, and then you just want to run forward like a step and throw. And this will molly chair every time. Basically from exactly the same position. If you look over a little bit more to the right where you're standing, you want to be like, if you kind of think of this whole like 2 blocks right here as a T, you want to aim at the middle of the T, so right there, just left click throw. This smokes off the cat run up. So like something that I will do is smoke off the cat run up. As a cat player, something that I would do. Smoke up the cat run up. Molly chair. Now, if your window teammate has molly top mid and like your A player or your con player has flashes for over mid, then you can fight together, especially if like your window player has a rifle and can jump out with good flashes. That can be really powerful because you've eliminated the two like most safe spots for the T's to be, and you've kept them in the open, and hopefully your flashes have been able to blind them properly, and you have a good fight. Especially with this smoke here, because now, I mean, obviously they could spam you, but you can kind of use, if I throw it again, I mean, it's not the most specific thing in the world. There's kind of a little gap around the edge of it that you can use to like peek towards ramp and stuff like that. You can even clear towards under, jump up here and peek over it. All that's pretty useful. Another good thing to learn as a cat player, this isn't even like the most specific thing in the world, but I like to line up with that little dot right there, and then aim towards the top of the wall of con. This resmokes bottom con. It isn't like the greatest resmoke in the world, but it will keep them off of like, it will let your teammates stay for a little bit longer. This is really important because I think the bottom con smoke is like the most important smoke in the game for CTs on Mirage. So being able to cycle through smokes, bottom con, from a cat player, because for the most part, the cat player, his smoke isn't really that the most important piece of util for him. Like when you're holding B rushes, if you can throw like the molly there or the molly upper before you can hold, and like you can use your smoke late to hold that. But for the most part, I think the best thing you can really do as a cat player is to help your con players by just smoking con for them, resmoking bottom con. I think that's kind of it as a cat player. And there's a flash that like allows your window teammate to jump out and peek under. I don't know if this is like the most important thing to learn or whatever. If you're really high level and want to learn that, go for it. I don't know it, so can't help you there. Okay, as a window player, obviously you can molly top mid boxes. A lot of people have a lot of different ways to do it. I just like to freehand it. I can do it pretty fast for the most part. Obviously I missed there because I'm an asshole, but I usually can just do a really fast freehand, especially if like I see like top mid smoke coming out. Instead of holding anything, I'll just molly really quickly, because my teammate should be flashing for me, so I should never be able to die this early. I just molly behind boxes. A really cool thing to learn, if you're smoked off, I'll show this without being smoked off and then with smoked off, just to prove it. If you want to molly top mid, you get on top of the easel here, you look where the wood connects with like the top of the roof there. You look at your minimap to make sure that you're in the middle of window, and then just run forward and throw. And that'll do every time, so I'll smoke window and show that it works. Boom. So that works perfectly. This is basically what I was talking about when I was saying that like the cat player can molly chair and the window player can do this. Now with good flashes from either your A player or your con player, you can do like a really nice mid recrunch where you, like a guy jumps out with the flash, you're peeking off cat with the flash, your teammate is like con clearing like under window and helping with the flash. So that's a pretty good take. That's very useful to know. Other than that, something that I really like is kind of a bait flash for when your teammate's also going to be flashing over mid for you. Just throwing a flash off the wall like this will blind all of mid ramp. It'll blind like under window and stuff like that as well. But for the most part, it's meant to make them turn away and think that they're safe. You want to throw that on timing where, you know, if your teammate's like flashing over mid like this or like this, or however they might be flashing. There's a million different ways to flash mid that your teammates can do. You want to kind of throw it on a timing that'll make the enemies look away, and then look back into your teammate's flash. Other than that, you can throw like the underpass molly and stuff like that. There's a one way you can throw for mid, but I hate one ways because I think good players will just spam you. As a jungle player helping to retake towards A, or defend to like halt and execute. So say you see like your A player is called that he sees like smokes and stuff, and you start seeing them too. we can throw like a full thing of util to stop with A ramp. So basically every piece of util from a molly to a nade will be useful for this. I'm going to start with mollies and move to the nade last because I think the nade's the least important one. The molly, if you want to molly Tetris, like that, so you get in this corner right here. Now obviously you have to have like make sure that they can't just run and peek you from con, or they're not just like already out A, like jumping Tetris to kill you. But you aim from the top of like this is the door on stair, but you can tell because it's kind of darker there, and this little like wooden protrusion. So you aim over to the end of that protrusion, and about halfway, like so right about here. It's not the most important, like you don't have to be that accurate, but you want to make sure that it gets right here because this molly is all of Tetris, which means that they cannot be at anywhere Tetris at all. If you want to molly in ramp, you aim a little bit higher. Now this molly is all of out ramp. It even gets a little bit of apex sometimes, depending on how the molly spreads. So to do that again, you just aim out the same, so you just aim at the end of the wooden protrusion like this. To smoke in ramp, you throw, I believe it's this? Yes. So you out to the end of the wooden protrusion and all the way down to where the dark line on the wall starts, and then if you throw it right, it'll bounce. It'll land in ramp, and yeah, this is a good smoke for ramp. This helps halt executes. This is really great for retakes. Personally, this I think this is most useful for retakes because now you've managed to smoke off and you can isolate Tetris. Especially if you have a molly and a smoke, you can do something like this. And now you have a molly, Tetris, and a smoke ramp. So you've basically managed to eliminate 2 spots with 2 pieces of util, which is really important. Flash kind of works the same way. You can flash 4 Tetris. That'll also blind people that are coming out ramp. If you aim a little bit higher, it'll go higher. It'll flash basically the same thing. You can throw it. You can like run throw it to get it deeper. If you're trying to blind like in ramp or whatever it might be. And then basically the nade obviously works the same way as the flash. Normally I'll do like a running throw on it to get it in. This can do a lot of damage, especially if you know like exactly if you get the timing right. Other important pieces of util from this spot, since there's no skyboxes here anymore, flashes above triple behind your teammates can be really, really helpful if you're smoked off jungle. And if you have like if you're a con player, right, and then your window player, your AWPer is like smoked off, there's the smoke right here. I was just kind of randomly thrown. Now you as the con player, you don't really have any, like you can't really do anything from here. Your AWPer can't really do anything from here either. Your AWPer or your window player flashes above triple, and you go through as long as they don't molly bench. Now you can go through and you can help fight. It'll also help if your teammate's stuck on site, it'll help him out a lot. The important thing is to get it behind, because unless your teammate is under balk, even if he's under balk, it won't usually bind him, especially top balk. It'll definitely bind top balk. It won't be blinding them, so it'll just be good support util. If you are in jungle, well, one thing make sure to do is to always jump this angle if you can, because there could be an AWPer posted on you. If you want to smoke palace, you see this like line that goes up here. You just run through on that line, and it'll smoke palace. This is another like fill, and you can kind of throw it however you want. But generally speaking, it all pops the same way. You want to try to get it in palace. This one's kind of bad because it lets them lurk out, but for the most part, it'll work pretty well. Same goes for here. You can use this line as reference to throw your smoke palace off. You can run forward and throw it. If you're close enough, you can just left click throw it. Works for mollies and nades and all kinds of stuff. Let's see. If you're the con player and you want to throw your early smoke, this will put out the Molotovs no matter where they're throwing it. It's pretty fast to do. You can also just right click in one of the corners, either one works. That gives you the one way in con and puts out the mollies. As an A player, the good ramp smoke to start is the one from, so you get missiles, even the top left of this box right here. This smokes A ramp every time. If you're playing retake A and you need to make sure to smoke ramp, you use this antenna, this like long wire. I try to aim towards the top of it right there. Just run forward and throw. It's another smoke for ramp. It's pretty useful. Obviously you can be peeked from like out palace doing that or whatever, but even with a, well, sometimes you can't see it, but if you're smart about it, you can make sure to get the angle proper so you can smoke in ramp. Remember that you can also use the fact that there's no skyboxes to your advantage. You can throw the flashes above ticket, all kinds of stuff. You can molly, if you're smoked off CT, you can molly default by using this pillar, so just to show it again. So you know that that pillar's there, you can just bank it off the pillar. As long as you land around default, it shouldn't be a problem where you hit. You can also do basically the same thing for triple by finding the door, then just kind of throwing it off the door. They're mollying there, now they're mollied off. Let's see, and then retake smokes for A. If you are a B player and you're rotating towards A, a good retake smoke is you get outside the B door in this cubby, at the top right of this like window thing, you just jump throw, this smokes palace. It's very useful smoke for your team, can help defend against execs and all kinds of stuff. The two retake A smokes from this corner back in spawn. The first one for palace is aim at the right wooden beam right here, and you just toss out a jump throw. Smokes palace. And the one for ramp, this one's kind of tricky. I'm not really sure the best way to like remember this. I kind of just know it at this point, but for some people it might be kind of hard to like really find like really fast. But when you look at this wall, there's this little like blue part of the stain, and then you have to aim to the right of the blue part of the stain. So still on the stain, in between the two blue parts. And you jump throw. And if you throw it right, which I did, it smokes in ramp. All the way in ramp. And then if you're an A player and you're going to help B, the no skyboxes also helps for flashes, so you can toss flashes over market again to help your teammates out. And I think that's basically it. A cool retake flash to get back into windows, you get in this cubby next to the thing, and you run throw a flash off that wall, and it will pop right inside, so you just run forward and throw it. This is pretty useful. I mean, obviously some people can turn from it and turn really fast and kill it, but, you know, it can get you some cool kills. Oh, and then the A ramp flash that I prefer. So if you have a teammate, for the most part, you know, they should be running up and throwing like a deeper molly and getting in this cubby. Now this is to take A ramp control, so you want to make sure that like all of that's covered off. Now, the person that's throwing the flash gets in this cubby right here and aims at the corner of the roof above this, I don't even really know what to call it, right there. So you aim right there and just left click throw. Now, I like this flash because it forces this player off. Now, it does not get anybody that's on the left side here. That is what throwing this molly early is for. Now this, anyone back here behind the molly is blinded, anyone up here is blinded, and now this person can just focus solely on here and here to get the kill. And I think that's pretty much it. If there's anything else, I can try to find. The over mid flashes for A players is usually you just want to try to get it in between these two trees. So as long as you're throwing it over these trees, it's, for the most part, that's pretty good. You can throw it from basically anywhere as long as you have cover. Just aim in between the two trees and just make sure that it goes high on jump throws. You can even throw it from like under balk if you're not too scared of being peeked from ramp. And then as a con player, you can flash over mid for your team by just kind of flashing over con like this. Basically same with the cat player, just flash above window. Yeah, that's basically it. Alright, thanks.